Welcome to a primary election forum featuring the candidates for the District 5 seat on the Sacramento City Council. I am Lois Wright, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the moderator for today's forum. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. We are broadcasting live from the Sacramento Board of Supervisors chambers and being taped for rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14 each Sunday until Election Day. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of women and men established to promote informed, active participation in government. The League carefully studies and takes positions on certain political issues, but does not evaluate, endorse, or oppose any political candidate or party. The format for this forum is as follows. Each of the candidates will have 1.5 minutes for an opening statement. The candidates will then respond to questions from our panelists with up to 2 minutes to respond to each question, and then be given an opportunity for a closing statement. In the interest of time and decorum, we ask the audience to please hold all applause until the end of the forum. At this point, I would like to introduce the panelists who will be directing questions to the candidates. Terry Hardy, who is the City Hall reporter for the Sacramento Bee, and John Sire, professor of government at California State University, Sacramento, CSUS. And now I would introduce both of the candidates for District 5 seat on the City Council, except only one of them is here. I want you to know that we have invited both candidates, and if Linda Roberts does appear, we will incorporate her into the forum. But at this point, we have with us Lauren Hammond, who is the incumbent for the District 5 seat on the City Council. Ms. Hammond, would you like to give an opening statement?
Yes, I would. Thank you. I want to thank the League for hosting this candidates forum. I'm Lauren Hammond, council member for District 5, and I'm running for my third full term on the council, and I'm proud of the work I've done so far. When I was first elected, I promised that every neighborhood would get its fair share of city resources and services. I've worked hard and will continue to try to deliver on that promise. By working together with my constituents, I've brought in new businesses, eliminating the blight of empty lots and storefronts while improving the local economy. We've preserved historic buildings, improving the tax base and providing jobs. We've cracked down on and closed liquor stores that plague poor neighborhoods. I've co-authored the city's living wage ordinance and helped form a public authority for home care workers. We've installed new street lights and stop signs to make our streets safer for our children, disabled residents, and pedestrians. I've always been willing to get involved, take a stand, and do what I thought was right. If I'm reelected, I will continue to make public safety a top priority, work to ensure that our city's contracting practices are fair, and strengthen ordinances dealing with absentee landlords and code violators. Thank you.
Ms. Hardy, would you like to address a question to Ms. Hammond?
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Hammond.
Good morning, Ms. Hardy.
A recent story in the Bee found that the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, the governmental body charged with eliminating neighborhood blight, has 17 boarded and vacant homes in Oak Park. That's nearly half of the single-family rental homes it owns in the community. Most of these homes were supposed to be sold to low-income residents. Instead, they've sat vacant for months, even years. Some residents in Oak Park have said that the Housing Authority is a slumlord. Ultimately, the Sacramento City Council is the governing body overseeing the Housing and Redevelopment Agency. But so far, it has yet to weigh in on the situation. What should the council do to ensure that the homes are renovated and sold?
Well, as the council member for District 5, I have been working with SHRA, and I have been pressuring them to get those houses renovated and then back on the market. Their explanation is the first-time homebuyer program is very difficult to implement. I really don't care what the problem is. We just need to fix it, get those homes back on the market, and get new homeowners in there, because the reality is when Oak Park becomes at least 50% homeowners living in those homes, it will change the neighborhood because those folks will be invested in their community.
Thank you.
Mr. Sire, would you like to address Ms. Hamling?
Yes. Good morning. In your opening statement, you mentioned that your goal is to make sure that city services are equal in all of the city's neighborhoods. How well do you think that goal has been achieved to this point, and are there any concrete steps that should be taken to equalize city services throughout the city?
Yes, because not all neighborhoods need the same resources, or need the same services, or need them in the same degree. So we need to look at them honestly and see what neighborhood is lacking, the things that the city can help them with, and we need to make that adjustment. And it won't hurt the neighborhoods who don't need those resources because they're not using them anyway. As an example, since you all have mentioned Oak Park, we have applied for a weed and seed grant, which is a $500,000 program over a 5-year period. It will require great coordination between city services, county services, the district attorney, and we're going to try to bring everybody together, including the neighbors and those folks that work in that neighborhood, because they need greater resources right now. And I think I've done a good job of, we're not quite equal yet, but we're much better off than we were when I was first elected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hardy, another question, please.
Councilwoman, at your urging, the city's auditor undertook an in-depth look at the contracting and bidding process for the General Services Department in the city. The audit uncovered a host of problems: little oversight, work done without contracts, and employees using debit cards over city limits. In one project, the Oak Park Community Center, rules were broken during the bidding process by the city architect overseeing the job. During construction, the wife of that same city architect got a job with the contractor's company. He didn't report the conflict to his boss or report it on his economic disclosure forms. The city says the architect was disciplined, but they aren't able to give details. The man still holds the same position. What should the city do in cases where employees break rules or fail to report conflicts? Should the city report this to the FPPC, which monitors and governs the state laws on reporting?
Well, I'm pretty sure if an elected official had done that, someone would have reported it to the FPPC. I have to be very careful with my answer because as an elected official, we can't interfere in personnel decisions. Am I satisfied with the explanation I've been given? No. The rules have to apply to everyone, and they must be implemented against everyone. So I don't think we're quite done with that issue yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sire,
Yes.
another question, please.
Yes. This question has to do with the K Street area between the convention center and the large commercial mall. What is your assessment of the city's progress in revitalizing the K Street area between the convention center and the large commercial mall? How is the city doing in terms of its efforts to revitalize those blocks that have been had a large amount of closures and unoccupied businesses?
You know what I think? When that part of the mall looks really good, you won't have to ask that question again. We really have a long way to go. But after years of, I don't want to say inactivity, but we have finally engaged the owners. And we are making land swaps that everyone has agreed to, well, almost everyone. And we expect to see some wonderful things on that part of K Street Mall in the next year or two. I have worked downtown since 1981, so I know K Street Mall well, and it's had better days, and it will see better days soon.
Anything specifically the city can do to promote it and speed up those improvements?
Yes, we negotiated with the property owners between 7 and 800 K Street and told them either figure out how we can make this work so that we can redevelop it, or we're going to look at taking property. And that is a good use of eminent domain and the threat of eminent domain through our Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Authority.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hardy?
A recent poll by CSUS showed people in the Sacramento region don't believe Arco Arena needs to be replaced.
I knew that was coming.
One current proposal being discussed by the city and county involves raising the sales tax in Sacramento City and County by 1/4 cent for 10 years. Do you support a sales tax hike? What should the city do in efforts to build a new arena?
Well, I need to see the details before I can say that I support a sales tax hike, because frankly, we need more police officers, and we may need to look at raising funds for that. The replacement of the Arco Arena has been a hot topic on and off for the last 3 or 4 years, and I think we need to have the right people in the room to do the talking, and that really should not exclude governmental jurisdictions outside of the city and county of Sacramento, because the Kings have a fan base in Placer County and El Dorado County and Yolo County. So if we're going to talk about raising a sales tax, maybe they ought to think about doing it as well. I know that in the end, the issue has to go before the voters so that they can have their say on the matter. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sire, another question, please.
Yes, would you support a moratorium on any building or construction in floodplain regions within the city because of the threat to property?
Well, if you look at our levees, we have 100-year protection that's really not there along the Sacramento River. And now we don't have it along the Sacramento River in North Natomas. So if you're going to have a moratorium on building, you would have to have a moratorium throughout the whole city, not just the Natomas floodplain, which I think is the basis of your question.
Would you support a moratorium in the whole city then?
I don't think it's necessary. I think we need to work on improving our levees now, and we can do that this year, now that the state has finally decided to put a bond before us so that we can vote on it in November. I'm just sorry we couldn't have done it sooner. I think we can attain 100-year protection again soon if Congress works with us and the President, as well as state government.
Ms. Hardy, another question, please.
We've read a lot about violent crime in Oak Park recently. There's been fire bombings and murders. What is being done to combat crime in the Oak Park area?
Well, first, let me just say that there's crime in more than just Oak Park. That just seems to be the neighborhood that people fixate on. There have been an unusual number of homicides this year. Most of them were retaliatory. And so at least 4 of them, I believe, are related. The police are continuing to do what they've always done, and that is fight the crime, look for the perpetrators, look for connections, and really reduce the violence. The sad state of the city of America is too many people own guns, and they use them. Some people use them more accurately than others. I know that there have been 18 shootings in Oak Park, but there have been twice as many in the city, in Natomas, in Del Paso Heights, in other neighborhoods. Oak Park has a very strong neighborhood association. They're going to march today at 3 o'clock, and I will join them to show people that they're not afraid to be out on their streets and that they want their streets to be as safe as anywhere else. That's why I suggest we may need to look at raising revenue so that we have more police officers on the street. The city is just, we are growing so quickly, there's no way that the same number of officers can keep up. And even with the 67 positions that we have approved, that's 67 more than we've had. We still can't reach that 67. They still have to go through and graduate through the academy. And I still don't think that's going to be enough. I mean, people really need to seriously look at raising revenue for more officers.
I'd like to follow up on that. Can you provide some more details or talk about when you might flesh out that idea of raising revenue for police?
It would be like I don't want to call it a tax. I don't want to call it a public safety tax. We're going to have to figure something out, whether it's sales tax or another measure that goes to the people because of Proposition 218. But we don't have enough money for the public safety that we deserve. We're doing the best we can with what we have. And we don't have enough money for our parks. You know that we have gone to a $120 million bond, and it's still not enough for all the parks that we need. So, you know, public safety and parks, a pop tax.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sire, the last question, please.
Yes.
Oh, it's almost over.
That's what you wanted to hear, right?
The state has a Fair Political Practices Commission responsible for overseeing ethics questions at the state level, but also overseeing ethics issues in all the localities in California. Some would argue that they're overstretched and can't do an adequate job in all localities. Given that, if you accept that position, is it time for Sacramento, the city of Sacramento, to create its own ethics commission that would oversee issues here of campaign finance, of lobbyist disclosure, and other ethical issues in the city? Is that something the time has come the city really needs to have its own ethics commission?
I don't know. I know that the Fair Political Practices Commission needs more attorneys. They don't have enough to give you a written opinion, much less a verbal opinion. Whether the city of Sacramento needs that too, we've already done public financing. We've done a number of things to make it easier for folks to run for office. We have had violations by some candidates, and it does need to be looked at. I'm certainly open to thinking about the idea.
Had you heard that the city attorney said it's the current situation in the city is unenforceable? There are no teeth behind if somebody is alleged to have made a violation. There's really no teeth and no mechanism to enforce those ethical standards that are now on the city's books.
I agree. The candidate I ran against 4 years ago had a number of violations, and there were no teeth, and he got away with it.
You ready to put teeth into it?
I'm not afraid to. Thank you.
Thank you. And now you have an opportunity for a closing statement.
Once again, I'd like to thank the League for inviting me today. I also want to thank the voters of District 5 for giving me the opportunity to serve. I'm proud of the fact that I have the support of Mayor Heather Fargo, Senator Deborah Ortiz, former Assemblymember Darrell Steinberg, and my colleagues on the City Council. But I'm most proud that I have the support of the voters over the years. On June 6th, I ask for your support and allow me to serve you again. Thank you.
On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, I want to thank you, Ms. Hammond. And I want to thank Terry Hardy and John Sire and our volunteer timer, Mary Williams, for making this forum possible. The League firmly believes that a democratic government depends on the informed and active involvement of its citizens. We hope that the insights you have gained from this program will assist you in making your decisions in the upcoming primary election. For voter information and rebroadcast times, please visit our Smart Voter website at smartvoter.org or our Sacramento League website at lwvsacramento.org. Please vote on June 6th and help make our democracy work.